If what you're telling me, you saw with your own eyes
Yes.
your son being bullied and then
Yes.
went up to take a shower, then what I'm telling you is that you have a screw loose. That's what you just told me.
Okay, so
That's what you just told me.
No, that isn't what I said. I was just trying to explain to you what happened on the day that it occurred, and I really didn't get a chance to.
No, I asked you questions.
Okay.
The first thing I wanted to find out was whether your 4-year-old was outside unsupervised. And when you got to where I was going, you said, well, my 12-year-old, who had been in the living room with my mother, was now standing outside at the front door.
No, she was standing in the door. She was standing in the door. My mom was in the living room. I always allow her to stand in the door and watch my son.
Here,
I do not.
Okay, I'm going to let you finish telling your story. I don't believe a word you're saying to me.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that.
Okay. Well, on the 11th at 5:24, I noticed that the two children were in my yard, and they pushed my son, and they called him a. When they called him a, he came in and he told me. When he went back in the house, I didn't have any clothes on because I was getting in the shower. I got in the shower. When I stepped out of the shower.
What'd you get in the shower for? Why didn't you go outside and see what was going on?
Because I didn't have any clothes on. I was in the midst of getting in the shower when he told me about it.
Instead of getting in the shower, if my son came in and said something happened to me outside that I was uncomfortable with, I wouldn't say to him, you can go back outside.
I was already in the bed. Maybe I should have. You're right. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I had a different way of doing things that day.
And why didn't he tell your mother that somebody was bullying him? She was right in the living room. He didn't have to find you in the shower. He had a 12-year-old that was watching him at the door,
yes.
You just told me.
Yes, she did. Yes, she was.
She did. All right. So I don't believe you.
Okay.
Let's get over the bullying part.
Okay.
Let's get over, now let's see if I believe you
okay.
when you tell me you saw them vandalizing your car.
Okay, so when I stepped out of the shower, I was in the living room talking to my mother, and I have a storm window in my front yard, my front living room. And I noticed that the oldest child had a mop handle, and the youngest child was standing next to him. And the oldest one hit my vehicle, the youngest one kicked. They took turns. As I put on my clothes, I went to the door and I went outside and I said, stop. They ran home. I went to talk to the sister, because the mother wasn't available. The sister told me that. She'll call her sister. I talked to the sister. She flat out refused to pay because she said her children weren't supposed to be.
Who's the sister?
Her sister, the defendant's sister.
Well, what'd you speak to her sister for?
She wasn't at home at the time. The defendant wasn't at home at the time. The sister was watching the children.
On that day?
Correct.
On the 11th, you went over to her house?
Correct.
Stay still. Stay still. How old are your children?
5 and 7.
What are they doing outside unsupervised?
They were not supposed to be outside on that day.
But they were?
They were.
Who was supposed to be watching them?
My sister.
How old is she?
She's 23.
What was she doing?
To my knowledge, in the house with her 2 babies.
Where were you?
At work. Just got to work when this happened.
Your sister's not a reliable babysitter for your children?
Clearly, after that incident, yes.
How long have you been living in your house?
Since January.
Ever had any negative dealings with the plaintiff before?
No, since then, no.
Not before that?
No.
No. So when your sister called you at work and said there had been a complaint that the boys damaged the plaintiff's car, were you surprised?
Very.
Did you ask her where she was?
Yeah.
And she told you I was inside?
Yeah, and I asked her why were they outside. I gave her specific instructions before I left home not to even let them go outside if they were to ask. She let them go outside. She had a headache. That was her excuse.
Okay. You have pictures of the car?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.